Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. Today I'm going to be discussing the infinite void and the art of invulnerability. So, what we're going to be discussing today is when you understand some core concepts about reality. These are major life improvements that will make you feel, act, think more clearly, and just be a better version of yourself. So, what am I talking about when I say the infinite void and the art of invulnerability? So, number one, when you're going down this whole spiritual type of deal, right? And what is spiritual stuff? Well, it's really scientific stuff that encompasses very complex topics in a simplified dynamic, right? How do you talk about something like the quantum field in science terms without sounding like a nerd, right? Versus talking about the quantum field versus just feel into the wish fulfilled. See how non-nerdy that is? It's just like do this and get this. That's why spiritual stuff is great, because you can test it, figure out what works for you and what doesn't, okay? Core truths about reality. You're an eternal soul. You're in a body, vehicle, on a place that makes you forget the second you were born who you were before you came in, and everything is a keyed down version of the real reality, meaning that it's a slower reverberation, okay? So you're in a crazy game, all right? When you have a belief that something can touch you or hurt you, that makes it so, okay? So when you talk about law of attraction, you talk about law of assumption, you talk about law of reversibility, you talk about law of vibration, what are they saying, right? If you're in an alignment or you have a belief, right? There's knowing, which is understanding core truths about reality, and then there's beliefs, which go into the realm of perspective realities, perspective truths, right? So like a core truth of reality is that you can't have unlimited freedom with a limitation. It just doesn't make sense, right? So no matter how many different perspectives you look at it, you can't have ultimate freedom with one limitation. That's a core truth, right? Your soul is immortal, can't be touched unless you believe it to be so. And what this does is it puts you in a power position. Because if you're a soul inside a body, right? They can touch the body. You can get your body hurt, get your arms cut off. Oh no, what am I going to do? Guess I got to eat cereal for the rest of my life. Whatever, right? Your soul, you ever seen phantom limbs? Is physical inside your body, but because of the frequency, you only see a small bandwidth of the electromagnetic spectrum of light, meaning that you're only aware of your shell, okay? You're in a body. Somebody dies. Where'd they go? I don't fucking know. Maybe they were in a vehicle and now they're not in the vehicle, okay? So they didn't die. They just went to another frequency, right? So as you understand these things, you understand that you're a soul, okay? It's a big deal to identify as a soul in a body. Because if you identify with the body, you're fucked, okay? It means that you're vulnerable at all stages of your life, meaning that, oh my God, this thing happened. Now I'm screwed. So what does I am mean? I am is the name of God. What is God defined as in Scripture through the lexicon of somebody like Neville Goddard, which interprets Scripture through the ideation that the characters and names are determined of the states of consciousness they represent, not a literal story. Well, God is the ether. That is the creative substrata from which everything comes, right? So when you say, I am this, you're molding God into that thing. That's why you're a creator being. So when you have an injury and you go, I am injured, because you're identified with your body, you are using that creative power to create and sustain that injury through your awareness, conviction, and determination that it is real, okay? So when you identify with your soul, what you want to understand is that your soul is eternal because nothing can touch it unless you allow it to, okay? If something could touch your soul and dominate it and destroy it, you wouldn't be eternal, right? So that is an essence, an aspect of your eternal nature that you need to remember, okay? The reason that you remember that is because if you're a soul in a body, right? Beep, boop, bop, 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 okay? And you have a chronic situation, okay? I've always felt really sad. I've always been this thing, right? What that thing is on a super simplistic level, indiscriminate of your story about it, is an unwanted state of consciousness glued to you, okay? Depression is an unwanted state glued to your whole body. So you wake up, you're like, fuck, sucks, okay? So how do you get rid of these unwanted sticky states of consciousness, right? You're all clumped up. Look at Book of Enoch, the movie, okay? Enoch, I think is just the name of the movie. They talk about the fallen angels. And what are they? They're angels that are covered in rocks. So they're angels, but they're all fucked up because they're covered in rocks. And so they're all unhappy, right? They're all walking around like mangled, fucked up creations until Enoch frees them or whatever. That's you. You're perfect, but you got a lot of shit on you, okay? So when you have all that fucking gunk from other people's thoughts, belief systems, all this shit that's like, feels like it's attacking you because in essence, you're allowing it to. The way that you get out of that is you understand that nothing can touch your soul unless you allow it to, okay? So when you picture yourself inside a body, you're in the vehicle. Whoa, I'm in an Iron Man suit, okay? In the vehicle, in the fucking game, okay? You got a hand that's inside this hand. Now, if I lose my hand and I am identified with my physical body here, right? And remember, your soul body is just as physical as this body here. And if you don't believe me, watch 1,000 NDE videos. I'm not kidding. Watch more than 100. Because until you get that into your brain, that when you die, you're looking at your body and you're like, I can still fucking clap. You're gonna fear death and it's gonna fucking ruin your life, okay? So you are eternal. You're in a soul form that is physical in a shell of a physical body. That's why you can have the illusion of things like pain, okay? What's the first thing somebody says when they have an NDE? Oh, it's amazing, there's no fucking pain. Even though I got smashed into a car by a trash compactor. I had to come back in my body and it was so fucking not cool, right? Because the body is a prison, a prism, right? It confines you, which is good because if you're weight training, right, you put a weight vest on, you get really strong. So there's a purpose to it, but you just don't want to identify with it, right? It's like putting on a weight vest and then being like, I'm going to be this heavy forever. Right now, you're like, I'm getting stronger. This weight vest gets lighter, right? You get stronger, everything else gets easier. So in order to understand your invulnerability, it's not to underestimate the capability of this world to hurt your body. That's not it. But what it is to understand that the actual essence of your soul cannot be touched unless you believe it to be so, which is the essence of peace, inner peace, right? You ever seen Kung Fu Panda? You got to have inner peace. What does that mean? It means that your inner being, your soul, is sitting there on a lily pad and nothing can touch it. If you're not at peace, what's happening? They're fucking bombing us. We gotta respond. Right? You're not at peace. You're at war. You're dealing with shit. You're fighting. You're reacting. You're overcoming. Nothing wrong with that. But if that's your only state, then you're fucked because you're gonna stress yourself out and you're gonna die from that stress because it's gonna dematerialize and break down your body all the time, right? So when you understand that you're a soul in the body, you want to understand that the way nothing can touch you is essentially what you would call an infinite void, okay? So I want you to practice this next time an unwanted emotion, thought, or fear in your fourth dimensional reality. Remember, external is categorized as third dimensional reality. Inner world is categorized as a fourth dimensional reality. Because in the external world, I want to go get a cup of coffee. I go downstairs, put the Keurig thing in, boop, boop, pop, 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 got the coffee, right? My inner world, it's a fourth dimensional reality because you can work non-locally. Meaning that if I want a cup of coffee, I can immediately have a cup of coffee in my hand in my mind. So it's the same reality, but we use those terminologies to describe the different dimensional spaces within which our consciousness, our awareness is focused. So when you are dealing with chronic fears of poverty, chronic fears of unhealth, unwanted circumstances, unwanted people, etc., right? You understand that the external world is the world of Caesar. It's going to do what it's going to fucking do. Fuck it, right? What you want to understand is that at your core, your soul has an infinite void between itself and everything external to it, okay? So think about an infinite space within about the space of an inch coating your entire inner soul inside your body. The reason that you think like this is because an infinite void cannot be crossed. There is infinitesimal space in a tiny sector of space, right? So if there's an infinitesimal amount of space in this void, something tries to cross it, it's just not going to be able to get through because there's an infinite amount of space. It's going to get pushed out of it. That's essentially the coding of your soul that's under your control, meaning that if you want to open that space and allow something in, you are free to do so. But what that does is it gives your soul the ability to withstand all of reality and all of eternity. Okay? It's a big deal. It's a big component of what makes you a soul, is that nothing can touch you unless you allow it to be so. Because if anything could reach out and get you at any time, you would be vulnerable at all times and you would be overcome in essence at some point in eternity. But you have a infinite void around your soul that you can exercise at any point in time. Doesn't mean it's going to directly correlate to your physical body experience, but your actual real self, if there's a thought or an emotion that's chronically trying to impress itself on you, you understand that that void can be expanded at any time. That's what gives you observership over something. When people say you're the observer, it means that you can be a non-participant and a movie director of it through your observational capabilities. The only problem happens is if you have a pain or something unwanted and you're in that observership and it gets bound to you like a fucking horrific, what's that movie where, I don't know, some fucked up shit. Like you're covered in guck, right? And you're just like, oh my God, my life sucks. Well, why does it suck? Well, because I can't do anything. I'm constricted. I'm covered in guck, right? So when you're covered in guck, the only thing that relieves you is to get separation from the guck, right? You have to be able to put distance between you and it. Oh, my body is sick, da 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 da. Okay, well, are you sick? If you believe you are, then you are in your soul form, right? Your soul can morph itself into anything, right? You can be a sad version of yourself. You can be a happy version of yourself. And your body is going to mirror that self-concept that your soul has templated out for it. So your body is a effect, right? Your body is a perfect mirror of how you think and feel about yourself. So when you have unwanted thoughts and feelings that are mirroring themselves in your external reality, you want to understand that being able to put that void in the middle, kind of like a shield in between those thoughts and emotions, and expand that space. Once you have expanded that space around you and you understand that even if something were to hit you like a truck, your soul cannot be touched unless you believe it to be so, you have a feeling of invulnerability because you know that's your real state. You know that's really you. You know that it feels weird to feel vulnerable because you couldn't feel weird if you felt vulnerable if you weren't actually invulnerable, to have that contrast and also know at your deepest core level that's your truth, and to feel off when you don't feel that way because you know it feels unnatural. Get it? So when you put that void and that spacing there, you're exercising your divine right, if you want to call it, to not be touched. Meaning that this whole world, fuckery, right? Totally fine. You're in the carnival, okay? But you don't have to be touched by any of it. That's what it means to be in the world and not of it. Your soul has barriers. It has non-permeability when you want it to. Doesn't mean that nothing can touch you because it can't touch you. You can allow anything to touch you. You have free will. You can allow a person into your life. You can allow an emotion to overcome you. You can allow a thought to define you. But if you're not able to space then everything just gets stuck to you and you're a Frankenstein monster and you're like, why do I feel so fucking gross? It's because you just allow everything to bind to you, okay? That's what purity is. Pure essence is spacing. Now, when you have freedom of choice, you can say, I want to be laughing. And then you allow that humor spirit to be in your space and you dwell in it. Or I want to be wealthy, and you feel that wealth and you visualize that wealth and you think thoughts as if you are wealthy, right? But if you have a chronic fear that's just badgering you all day, every day, that's not going to fucking fly, dude, because it's going to fuck you up all the time. So you have to put that space in between and say, no, this cannot, in essence, touch and or affect me. And every time it tries to go you imagine that infinite void it has to cross to touch you. And guess what? Nothing can cross an infinite void unless you imagine it can. It's infinite. How's it going to cross it? There's no fucking way. It's like two magnets, right? If you have a super strong magnet that's the same power as the other magnet, what happens? Boom, right? That's how your soul's energy field works. And if you don't understand that, then you're always just having, he said this, boom, taken down. Oh my God, I'm scared. Boom, taken down. And you're just getting pummeled in the waves, right? So when you part the seas, you're saying none of this fucking water can touch me, right? Doesn't mean that your body can't be touched. Doesn't mean that your physical aspect can't have degradation or any of that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about fourth dimensional, real you, pilot in the suit. That version of you is eternal. And if you hear these words, your soul will go, oh, that's fucking right. Forgot about that. But you're in sleepy, spooky, scary time where you get born in here and you forget all this shit because it's fun to, I guess, get whirled around like we're doing Dizzy Bat. So, whatever. I digress. But imagine your soul having an infinite void around it and then sheathing yourself in that void and exercising spacing between you and your thoughts and emotions. Does not mean that you cannot use thought and emotion at any point in time. But if you're a painter and you're painting a reality, right? You're fourth dimensionally thinking, you're seeing bigger bank balances, you're feeling, your hair looking the way you want to, or you're seeing your dream body, or you're visualizing your car out there, you're seeing yourself in Greece, you know what I mean? And you're having all of these doubts that are like, you'll never fucking do that, Fuck those things. You don't have to put up with that. Spacing, void, you cannot touch me. And you just resonate in that truth, and that thing will look distant and silly because you realize how big you are in comparison to a thought or emotion, right? You're gigantic. But what these things do is they trick you and make you feel small. So then you perceive yourself as small. So you perceive this thing as big, and it's really fucking based on your perception of it, right? That's why everything calls you an observer, because I can see, $20 on the street and I can go, wow, that's a lot of fucking money. Or I can see $20 on the street and go, that ain't shit. It's the same fucking $20, but my perspective is framing the bandwidth of consciousness, which orients my identification of who I am based on my judgment of the parameters of that, in essence, amoral, abstract, just creation. I'm flavoring it and coloring it with my perception of it, right? So if I perceive that these things can fuck me up all day, then they have the power to fuck me up all day. But if I perceive myself as having this void that I can allow or disallow, now I have a guard in which I can allow only wanted things in, and all the unwanted stuff stays at the gate, which is essentially your gate to your Garden of Eden, right? My last name is Eden's, beast mode last name, okay? So just get your defenses up. Understand that you don't have to bind with any thought or any emotion fucking ever. And the way that you get that internal peace is by understanding that there's a void between your soul that is like a impassable impasse unless you decide that something can come through that, right? That's going to put your entire being in a power position, enlarge your self-concept, and make you much, much more powerful in this life, because unless you know that you can't be touched, everything's going to fuck you up. So I know you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys want to do coaching, check out the link tree. We have the protocols. We have normal coaching. If you want to do a one-off session, it's all in the link tree. Email me if you have any questions. Other than that, the most important thing I have to say today is go conquer, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.